Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're uncovering the hidden mathematics of nature. If you've ever watched a flock of birds or a swarm of bees and just wondered, how does nature keep track of it all? Well, you are definitely in the right place. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're talking about biological populations with a truly staggering difference in scale. We're looking at everything from just a handful of endangered Siberian cranes huddled together in a wetland, all the way down to literally millions of microscopic organisms teeming in a single pond. But here's the wild part. The rules governing them, they're surprisingly similar. Section 1. Welcome to the population. It's time to shift our perspective. So the crucial point here is that to really understand nature, we've got to stop looking at the solitary, single animal and start looking at the crowd. A population isn't just some random assortment of animals. It's a specific group of organisms in a specific geographic area. They share a habitat, they actively compete for the exact same resources, and they have the capability to interbreed, whether that's sexually or asexually. We're officially shifting our perspective from the micro straight to the macro. And populations literally exist everywhere, often taking forms you might not even realize. A flock of cormorants hunting together in a wetland? That's a population. A scurry of rats taking over an abandoned building, also a population. It even applies to those invisible colonies of bacteria growing on a culture plate in a lab. Basically, from birds to microbes, if they share the space and the resources, they're a population. So why does this matter? Well, because understanding these groups is the absolutely critical link connecting ecology, evolution, and genetics. See, natural selection actually acts at the population level. It doesn't just tweak the solitary organism. Instead, the environment shapes the entire crowd over time, favoring traits that best equip the whole group for survival in their specific habitat. Section 2, Individuals versus Populations. Let's talk about mathematical momentum. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between the life of a single creature and the momentum of a whole group. An individual organism experiences distinct, singular events, right? It's born and eventually it dies. But a population? A population possesses mathematical attributes. It has birth rates and death rates. It has momentum. A single organism simply cannot have a rate. Only the crowd has a rate that reflects how its size changes over time. Let's look at a concrete example to make this stick. Imagine a peaceful pond. Initially, it hosts 20 lotus plants. Over a year, they reproduce and add 8 brand new plants to the pond, bringing the total to 28. If we do the math, dividing those 8 new plants by the original 20, that gives us a birth rate of 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. That 0.4, that represents the upward momentum of our lotus population. Now, consider the other side of the coin. In a lab setting, say a scientist is observing exactly 40 fruit flies. Within a single week, 4 of those flies perish. That rapid-fire event translates to a death rate of 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. These rates are crucial because they give us the pulse of the population's survival, letting us know exactly how fast the crowd is shrinking. Moving on to Section 3, the vital statistics, the crystal balls of ecology. Now, what's really interesting here is that while birth and death rates are fundamental, they aren't the only crystal balls ecologists use to view the future. Another essential attribute is the sex ratio. A population composed of, say, 60% females and 40% males isn't just a census statistic. It provides direct, critical insight into raw reproductive potential. In many species, a higher percentage of females means a much, much higher capacity for rapid population growth. And coupled right alongside the sex ratio is the age distribution, which is often visualized as an aged pyramid. Think of this as a timeline of a species' trajectory. By mapping out the proportion of young, middle-aged, and older individuals, scientists can instantly see if a population is actively growing with a wide base of young, holding perfectly stable, or dangerously declining into the future. Section 4, Sizing up the crowd, how we actually measure populations. Okay, it's time to put on our detective hats. I want you to think about this for a second. How do you count the uncountable? If there are millions of microorganisms in a pond or thousands of elusive animals hidden deep within a dense jungle canopy, actually counting every single organism to find the true density isn't just impractical. It is completely impossible. Because direct counting is usually totally off the table, researchers have to use some incredibly clever indirect methods. They might measure the percentage cover of a plant species across a grid, or estimate the total biomass in a given area. For wild, elusive animals, researchers basically act as trackers. They're counting pug prints left in the mud or, slightly less glamorously, analyzing animal feces. These markers allow them to accurately gauge population health and density without ever needing to lay eyes on every single animal. Let's move to the microscopic world and see how this builds, because this detective work is just as vital there. Imagine a petri dish densely packed with bacteria. Trying to count millions of individual rapidly dividing microbes would take lifetimes. So instead, estimating the density through relative measures, like analyzing the overall biomass or simply how much space they cover, becomes the most practical, meaningful way to understand what that population is doing.
Section 5. The big picture. Real-world applications.
We've talked a lot about the math and the tracking, but here is what you should really take away from all this: the why this matters. Grasping these population attributes isn't just some academic exercise. It significantly enhances our understanding of broader ecological processes. And, more importantly, it is the absolute bedrock of modern conservation efforts. Understanding the momentum of a population, its birth rates, its age pyramids, its overall density, is literally the ultimate key to stepping in and saving vulnerable species from the brink of decline. Which leads me to a final thought for you to ponder. We know that natural selection and ecological momentum operate at the crowd level. So if we pour our resources into saving just a few individual animals, are conservationists risking failure by focusing too much on the individual organism rather than the intricate mathematical dynamics of the population as a whole? It's a massive challenge for the future of our planet. Thanks for diving into this explainer.